Chapter 14, Exercise B1, Listening. Find your sound file and listen to the paragraph. You'll hear that each sentence in the passage is incomplete. Listen to the passage first to get the main idea, and then listen again and put a caret where you hear a missing word. Listen again to fill in the missing words and correct the erroneous punctuation. For example, the first sentence, you'll hear, whether we admit it, our reliance on electronic equipment is ruining the environment. Listen to the rest of the article and check your answers with the answer key. In the second part, part B, you'll hear conversational language. Again, you'll try these exercises. You'll choose A or B as the best sentence to complete each conversation, and then check the answer key. Exercise B2, Identifying Noun Clauses. This is a theater review. That means it's someone who has watched a theater play, drama, and written a review of it. So read this theater review and underline all of the noun clauses. There are ones that begin with that, WH word, and if or whether. You'll see some have been started already, and I'll help you with the first paragraph. It was with high hopes that this reviewer attended the opening night production of Henry at Broadway's Limelight Theater. Unfortunately, the show did not live up to my expectations. Do you know what it means to live up to your expectations? That means you had higher expectations and these expectations were not met, so you were disappointed. I found myself wondering aloud why I had bought a ticket to see it. In a nutshell, I thought that Henry was terrible. Now read the rest of the theater review and check your answers with the answer key. Exercise B3, Introducing Noun Clauses. Choose the best word in parentheses to complete each sentence. I'll do a few for you. Where or how she lives is considered a very upscale neighborhood. Neighborhood, that's a place. So let's use where she lives is considered a very upscale neighborhood. Upscale means kind of like a new and modern and expensive place to live. Number 2, there's a rumor, that or whether, he's going to step down from his position. Here's the correct answer. There's a rumor that he's going to step down from his position. So this tells more or less the factual part. He's going to step down. To step down from a position means to leave a position of leadership. Now you try the rest of the items in B3 and check your answers with the answer key. Exercise B4, Combining Sentences. Combine each pair of sentences to form a noun clause with that, a WH word, or if, or whether. More than one answer may be possible. Number 1, she's still working at 90. That means 90 years old. It's inspiring. That she's still working at 90 is inspiring. In that case, the noun clause is at the beginning and acts as a subject. That she's working at 90, that's a subject of the verb is, and the word inspiring is the adjective complement of this noun clause. Or, it's inspiring that she's still working at 90. So that's where we have it as a subject, followed by the be verb is, and inspiring as an adjective here, and then the clause that she's still working at 90. This second way is more common, especially in spoken English. The first way is a bit more formal. Number 2, the ground was shaking. We realized it. We realized that the ground was shaking. So we're using we realized something. What did we realize? We realized that the ground was shaking. So we realized as the main clause, independent clause, and the ground was shaking as the noun clause. Now you try the rest of them and check your answers with the answer key. Exercise B5, using that clauses after verbs. So part A asks you to read the information about lottery winners and the statements that follow. Some of the statements are true and some are false. Use these verbs to give your opinion about the statements: believe, doubt, guess, suppose, or think. Researchers have been studying people who have suddenly won a large amount of money. After winning more than £1 million in a lottery, citizens of the United Kingdom were interviewed. Can you guess how they felt? Consider the following possibilities. Number 1, after receiving the money, the lottery winners were happier overall. I doubt that the lottery winners were happier overall. Having money is convenient, but it doesn't make you happy. All right, so you can give your opinion. This is someone's opinion, but your opinion may be different. Use these verbs: believe, doubt, guess, suppose, or think to respond to each situation. Notice the use of the noun clause after the word doubt, after this verb. I doubt that the lottery winners were happier overall. And there's an explanation. Make sure that your sentence uses a noun clause. Exercise B6, using WH clauses and if and whether clauses. Read the sentence, write a yes/no question about the sentence, and then complete the noun clause using the sentence. Number 1, I might have to work late. What's a yes/no question? Do you have to work late? Now, let's make a noun clause. It depends on if you have to work late. It depends on whether you have to work late. It depends on whether you have to work late or not. Number 2, we may or may not be meeting tomorrow. Question, are you meeting tomorrow? Noun clause, I'm confused about whether we are meeting tomorrow. I'm confused about whether or not we're meeting tomorrow. Those are some possible sentences. Write yours and then check yours with the answer key. In part B, read the sentence and write a WH question, not a yes/no question, but a WH question about the underlined word, and then complete the noun clause using the question. Number 1, he's talking about grammar. Make a question about grammar. What's he talking about? Now let's change that into a noun clause. What he's talking about becomes what he is talking about. I don't know what he's talking about. Pay attention to the difference in the word order. What is he talking about compared to the noun clause, what he's talking about. They look similar, but they're not. One is the question form, and the other one is the noun clause form. Number 2, she speaks Spanish, but not French. Ask a question with which. Those are languages, right? So we can ask a question like this. Which language does she speak? Does she speak is the question form. Now, let's put it into the noun clause form. It depends on which language she speaks. So notice the difference in the form and the word order between the question and the noun phrase. Try the rest of these yourself and then check the answer key. B7. Using WH clauses as subjects. Read about the worldwide phenomenon. Complete the sentences. Use your own ideas to complete item 5. In many industrialized nations, the birth rate has fallen dramatically. This is called sub-replacement fertility rate in countries where the birth rate is not high enough to replace an area's population. There are several explanations for this phenomenon, including increasing urbanization worldwide and the increasing role of women in the workplace. Women who live in cities and work outside the home tend to have fewer children. Areas with the lowest birth rate are Hong Kong, Singapore, Ukraine, and Lithuania. Number 1. What this article is about is sub-replacement fertility rate, or the declining birth rate. You can see that each item here begins with a WH noun clause. What this article is about. That's not a question. A question would be, what is this article about? Question mark. Instead, we have what this article is about. So now we know it's a noun clause, and we can use it in the subject position before the verb be. And then you have to fill in the rest of it to make the answer. What this means is, this is another WH clause, noun clause, as the subject of the verb is. Why this has happened is. Where this is the biggest problem is. How this issue could be resolved is. So all of these items, all of these sentences that you need to complete begin with a WH noun clause. Your job is to fill it in, not with another noun clause, because a noun clause is already there, but with the information from the article. After you write yours, please check the answer key. Let's take a look at this usage note. Using infinitives in place of noun clauses. Sometimes it's more concise and natural to use an infinitive instead of a noun clause. Number 1. Objects of verbs and prepositions. When talking about something uncertain or undecided, we often use an infinitive instead of a WH clause. The subject of the sentence and the noun clause must be the same. I wasn't sure of how I should answer the question. You can say it this way with the noun clause, or change it to an infinitive like this. I wasn't sure of how to answer the question. Another example, he didn't know what he could do. Shorten that to an infinitive. He didn't know what to do. Number 2, after expressions of necessity and advice. After certain verbs, for example, advise, ask, require, order, and tell, infinitives are often used instead of a that clause with a subjunctive. The infinitive is preferred because it sounds less formal. On the left is an example with the noun clause, and on the right is an example of the same idea expressed with an infinitive. She advised that the student take the test again. She advised the student to take the test again. Yes, that's much more common. I have to ask that you be on time tomorrow. Ask that you be. That's a subjunctive form of the verb, which just looks just like the base form. It's not the base form, but it looks like it. More popular way to say it, I have to ask you to be on time tomorrow. Number 3, after its subjects, we often use for plus an object plus an infinitive to express the same meaning. Example, it is important that you not miss any classes. It is important for you not to miss any classes. So the one on the right, using the infinitive in place of the noun clause, is a more common way to express this idea. Exercise B8, using infinitives in place of noun clauses. Read about an area of Italy called the Cinque Terre. John is planning a trip there. Read his concerns about his trip and the advice he received from a travel agent. Rewrite each sentence using an infinitive. The Cinque Terre is a rugged and beautiful area along the northern Italian coast. It is popular with tourists who enjoy hiking and swimming, as well as relaxing in the 5 villages in the area. John says, I'm not exactly sure what I should pack. Let's express what I should pack as an infinitive. I'm not exactly sure what to pack. All right, so that's an example of taking the noun clause and changing it into an infinitive. Do that with the rest of the WH noun clauses, and then check your answers with the answer key. Exercise B9, completing sentences. Complete the sentences with your own ideas. In each case, use a noun clause. I'm very careful about So don't say, I'm very careful about my homework, because that's just a noun or a noun phrase, and what you need to use is a noun clause. Very careful about where I park my car. I'm very careful about what I eat. I'm very careful about how I complete my exercises. These are just some examples. So write some sentences using noun clauses. This person wrote, I'm very careful about how I look. So this one cares about appearance. These are some examples. Now you make your own sentences or complete these. Exercise B10. Thinking about meaning and use. Read the sentences and check same if the sentences have the same meaning, and check different if their meanings are different. Here's the pair for number 1. I'm surprised that there are so many new stores downtown. It's surprising that there are so many new stores downtown. I'm surprised and it's surprising are pretty much the same, because if a person says it's surprising, that person must mean it's surprising to me. I mean, the person wouldn't say it's surprising if the person didn't think so, him or herself. So it assumes that this is personal, and I'm surprised and it's surprising represent the same idea. Number 2, it was upsetting that he didn't win. He was upset that he didn't win. It was upsetting that he didn't win. When I hear this, I think it was upsetting to me, the speaker. It was upsetting to the speaker. and therefore it's a different meaning from he was upset that he didn't win. Maybe it wasn't upsetting to the player, but it was upsetting to the audience, to the spectator. Now please look at the pairs 3 through 9, do the exercise, and then check your answers with the answer key. B11 is a chance for you to practice speaking with noun clauses. Read the statements about changes in our lifestyles. You can make up some sentences that describe your feelings about the facts. Use the expressions in the box or other similar expressions. It's surprising that, the fact that, I'm amazed that, the problem is that, it is significant that, the idea that, I'm worried that, the fact is that. For example, number 1, reality TV has become the most popular new television format. Maybe you can say something like this. The idea that reality TV is so popular shocks me. Here we have a subject noun clause. The idea that reality TV is so popular. So here is the noun clause that modifies the idea. The shows are so predictable. It's surprising that reality TV is so popular. I find it boring. Reality TV is so popular. That reality TV is so popular is the noun clause. In part B, it asks you to write an embedded question about each of the statements in part A, and then use the expressions in the box or other similar expressions. I wonder, I don't know, I want to know, I can't understand, I'm confused about, we need to find out. So here's an example. I wonder why people like reality TV so much. Maybe it provides an escape for them. All right, try writing some sentences using these phrases and then a noun clause as an object.